Welcome back to Perfect Game Wednesday on Brashonomics. When you think about real estate, people do. When you're going to go buy a house, you want to fall in love with it. You want it to be your dream home. You want it to feel perfect at a minimum. I mean, you're spending $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 up to millions of dollars. You want it to feel perfect, but sometimes it doesn't always work out exactly the way you hoped. Since starting Doyle and Hinckley 8 years ago, Brad Hinckley has sold over $50 million worth of homes in the greater Seattle area. First of all, welcome, Brad. Glad to have you here.
Great to be here, Ben. Nice to meet you.
Are you a baseball fan?
Well, somewhat.
Yeah. So big King Felix, you're not out there with the yellow
really.
signs.
He's here. He's here for us.
Oh, that's true. I guess you're here. You weren't there unless you buzzed over. Anyways, that's a whole other topic. You work with a lot of buyers. And, if people do kind of want that perfect home. That's what they're thinking, at least, right?
Right. And as soon as many buyers find what they deem to be the perfect home, they're suddenly surprised to learn that someone else deems it to be the perfect home as well.
Sure, especially if it's perfectly priced, if it's well done.
Right. And the price has a lot to do with it. I mean, if it's important as a buyer to really have done your homework and to know within the neighborhoods in which you're looking, to realize that particularly in, say, Northeast, Northwest Seattle right now, we're seeing very low inventory and strong demand. So if you're looking in those neighborhoods, for example, you're likely to come up against some competition.
So where other people think that same house is perfect, or at least close enough, I mean, isn't that, when you get into this type of market, isn't that really what it's about? I mean, you have to really kind of look within, determine what's going to be the most important, and then see if it's more of like, maybe it's good enough. Maybe it's more like a no-hitter than a perfect game. That's
true. Yeah, if you're looking for the perfect house, you're going to probably be sadly disappointed. I mean, you need to be flexible with respect to, there is no perfect house. If there were a perfect house, you'd have to pay way too much money for it, and it wouldn't be
and perfect, I'd live in Bill Gates' house, and it would, be a pretty honky-dory.
But it's important for buyers to get out there with their agents, look at a lot of homes. I like to tour my buyers through quite a lot of homes when they first get started in the buying process, because they need to really get a sense. They need to know what a good price is. They need to sense it's a good price. And the reason it's important to get in early with that, recognizing a good price when you see it, is because other buyers are going to beat you to it. And when it comes time to present your offer, you may find that other buyers have already gotten in there and pre-inspected the property. So don't wait if you see a house that you like. If the way it looks, you want to get out and see it. A lot of people wait till Sunday to do their shopping, and then quite often Monday is the popular day for sellers and listing agents to review their offers.
Agents don't get Mondays off anymore? I thought that was like off. Your Monday was your weekend.
No, we don't have weekend.
No.
Oh, Monday's a popular day for these offer reviews. Mm-hmm. And typically, if you see a house on Sunday and you fall in love with that house, well, that house has probably been on the market for 3 or 4 days prior. Mm-hmm. Someone else may have already done a pre-inspection on that house, then putting you at a disadvantage. So time is of the essence, really, with the current market. I'm not trying to say that every house gets multiple offers. There definitely are houses that are overpriced. There are houses that are not getting multiple offers. But it seems to be the most frustrating when you come across one that you can't buy because somebody else is beating you to it.
Well, it sounds to me like there's this element that you're talking about of somebody needing to really be prepared to make an offer quickly. And, I mean, there has to be some of that onus. It has to fall on the real estate agent to kind of prepare them to understand what they want. Because if you're just running around looking at a house, it's like, well, you finally like that one, let's make an offer, would probably be kind of shocking.
Right.
There's probably a little bit more setup, I imagine, you guys do in order to effectively help them understand.
I think it's important before just charging out looking at houses to really have kind of a strategic meeting with your agent where you say, okay, let's talk about what you're likely to be able to find for this price range, and maybe not search at the very top of your price range. If you can afford $500 for a house, and every house you're looking at is $499, and then you keep losing out on a house, you might want to revisit your price point. You might want to be looking at $450, $475 homes.
Yeah, and that's tough to do for a lot of buyers. I mean, to start high and come down. I mean,
right.
we do all remember the days of 5 years past where you'd start at 400 and you'd end up at 600.
Right.
That was just kind of how it worked. Now people are much more capped on a financial standpoint. Like, look, this is where I'm pre-approved to. you may not have the option to go higher.
It's true. It's also important really to have done your homework and know pricing, because these prices are just prices that a seller and with the help of the listing agent have selected. So sometimes they could be overpriced. And so you don't want to just kind of immediately say, okay, I'm going to bid, 5-10% over that price. You need to really take each situation as it comes and evaluate each property separately.
Yeah, I would imagine, because as you said, some are sitting, some are new on the market, so they're all going to have their different positives and negatives. Once again, no perfect house.
Right, and listing agents tend to, in the listings now, they'll tend to say, we're going to wait 5-6 days before reviewing offers, that's pretty much the norm. But if you see that, a lot of buyers think, oh my gosh, there's going to be multiple offers. Well, there very well might be, but there very well might not be.
Are they required to wait? I mean, are they required to wait? If you come in and you're like, look, here's my offer. You can take it for the next 10 minutes or till the end of the day. Yeah. Are they required to wait if they say they will?
People will sometimes try to do that, but there's something called letter on file, which is what agents have to. They post this official letter on file with the MLS, which kind of allows them to wait before they look at offers.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So when people are out, they want to find a house. We just talked about sometimes you can't go over 500,000 or 400, whatever that number is. There are other strategies more than just the higher price that might drive that home, or I guess drive you to that home more than drive you. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. And yeah, I have a number of different strategies. I could go on and on about it, but in one of the strategies that's most overlooked is reviewing in your mind or not paying enough attention to the emotional connection that a buyer and seller can have and how powerful that can be in the real estate transaction. So if you've got 3 offers on the table, and the seller and the agent are reviewing the 3 offers, and 2 of those offers have been faxed in by their agents. They haven't been presented in person, and there's no cover note, there's no letter. Who really knows who these people are? They're just names on a piece of paper. And then the 3rd offer has been presented in person by their realtor.
Kind of going old school there, aren't you?
Old school, yeah, definitely old school, most definitely, because
it's kind of old school even saying they faxed it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I guess I'm old school a little bit, but yeah, right. Texted it maybe.
Yeah. Scanned and emailed, Facebook.
Let's say the 3rd offer though is sitting there and it's been beautifully presented. And there's a letter with it. There's been a nice description of who these clients are and what do they love about the house. I had a situation recently where my buyers were actually lucky enough to meet the sellers, just a brief meeting. As they were leaving the house, we were coming in. They kind of hit it off. Turns out they were from the same state originally, and we had this kind of click going on.
Sure.
And we ended up getting the house. We did not have the highest offer. Sometimes, if you don't have the highest offer, they might come back to you and say, "Look, could you meet this other offer over here where we don't feel as comfortable with this particular buyer?"
Because people want to, they will want to sell the house to somebody that they like or whatnot.
It's like a chapter in their lives that's ended with that house, and the new chapter is going to be the new owner, but they want they want their chapter to end nicely, and the new chapter.
They don't need the house turned into a meth house. That just sounds like a bad next chapter.
Exactly. You want to. They also have neighbors usually who are their friends, and you want that next chapper to be a chapter you're proud of.
That makes a lot of sense if you like your neighbors.
Maybe if you don't like your neighbors, you pick
there you go.
Put a meth lab next door to them.
That's right. Anybody write that in their love letter about the house?
Write that down.
Huge basement. We're here with Brad Hinckley with Doyle and Hinckley of Windermere Real Estate. Brad, we just have a couple of minutes left before we have to go to break, but you also talk a little bit about building yourself a winning team and sticking with that team.
Right. I think it's important when you start out your as a buyer to put together a winning team. By that I mean your agent. Who's going to represent you? Because in a multiple offer situation, that agent is your representative. When they go in that room, that's the person they see and hear from, not the buyers. The buyers are behind the scenes. They're obviously the ones buying the house.
Sure.
But the agent and their reputation is very important. And the second thing is the lender selection. Make sure you're working with a lender who also has a good reputation. Do your homework. Make sure you're comfortable with that lender. But internet lenders. As well as out-of-state lenders are generally frowned upon by listing agents in Seattle. So if you choose to work with one of them, that's your own prerogative, of course, but you may be deemed to be less attractive if you're in competition.
Sure.
If you're the only offer, you can often get away with a lot more. But if you're in competition, these sorts of subtle factors, the emotional factors, who's on your team, how the offer is presented, those things can really come into play and make a big difference.
Certainly. Well, Brad, thanks for joining us again. Brad Hinckley, Windermere Real Estate and DoyleHinckley.com. It is so true when you think about sports as well as real estate or any type of thing you might go try to do. The team is so important, and so few things are ever done on your own anymore. I mean, Felix didn't strike out 27 people today. He got 27 outs, but he didn't strike them all out on his own. He had a team that backed him, and that's what gave him that perfect game. And I think that's what can help you at least get close to that perfect real estate transaction.
Yep.
Brad, again, thanks so much for joining us. Yeah, when we come back, good friend of our show, Eric Robinson, is going to join us. We're going to discuss a little bit more about the current market and low inventories. And at the end of the hour, stay tuned for Aubrey Cohen, the writer for the Seattle PI's real estate section. We'll be right back after this break.